Okay, this video is going to show you how to set up your animation in your document. Okay, so we're going to go into Bryce, and one thing that the compressors really like in your program is are numbers that are divisible by 16. So I've put some recommended numbers on the assignment sheet. One recommended number would be 512 by 384. So if I go in and try to change to 384, notice that 512 changes. That's because constrained proportions is selected. So deselect the words constrained proportions, then you can punch in any numbers you want for height and width, or width and height, excuse me. Okay, so 512 by 384, check. Again, those are numbers that are divisible by 16. Okay, that looks pretty good. It's much smaller. If I wanted to make that larger, I can just double those numbers. So instead of 512, let's go 1024 by 768. So we're just doubling those numbers. Okay, 4:3 aspect ratio. And there you have a much larger canvas if you want to edit in that sort of canvas. But notice when I render it, it takes a long time to render each frame. So even though I can render in 1024 by 768 as far as my resolution, I can also render out the final animation at half that size if I want to speed up the rendering process. Okay, so I'll go up to the document setup, render resolution, I'll say 1 to 50%. Now we're going to render out at 512 by 384. So the finished animation will be this smaller size here, and notice the rendering time starts to speed up for each frame. So again, whatever numbers you plug in there, if they're divisible by 16, then compressors such as Xvid really like those numbers and will render out correctly. Sometimes if you don't have numbers divisible by 16, the rendering will not happen and you'll get error messages. Okay, so also we're going to plug in a time here under duration seconds. I'm going to start with 3 seconds. You know, a 2 or 3 second animation on this would be acceptable. Okay, frames per second, of course, we're going to change that to 10, and we're also going to choose repeat here. So I selected repeat. Okay, check. Okay, and we're set up here for our basic animation. I click the palette toggle to get my animation controls down on the bottom. And another thing that's cool here is you can name your objects. So if I control click on an object, I can go click A for attributes, and where it says object name on the top, I can go ahead and name all my objects. That way they're easier to select when I control click on. So that'll be Maraca 1. Again, control click, click attributes. I'll name this Maraca 2. Check. Okay, name this object, you know, something like Axle Toy. Check. And we'll name this the ball here. A for attributes. Check. Call this baby wheels. Again, these are all sort of infant toys. And it really doesn't matter what objects you're animating in your scene or what they're doing. What matters is you give each one a motion path. So it doesn't have to be toys in your scene. You could create a pool table and have each ball follow its own motion path. Okay, we'll call this the spin top. Okay, so naming your objects is a very helpful way to quickly select them. When you control click on an object, you can see the name and then select it. So that's basically it. Once you have your animation set up, just make sure auto key's on when you start animating and you're good to go.